and but this is the government, so there's the specification for it, there's what it is. So some of the masts that you will see around our stations are to do with our airwave system, which is part of the national procurement, we're far too far on.
In the USA, they have to have a setback from the stations because it was affecting. They've shown in the brain scans it was affecting the brain.
Well, I'll be very happy to look at all of that, but none of that has emerged into the debate.
I'll send it to you. It's contained within that letter.
May I say that, just please record this, the way that you've conducted this today has not helped your case. No. I feel that the hectoring attitude that you've taken to this meeting has not helped your case. And if you write to me, honestly, I am less likely to give it credibility, only in the way, please record this, only in the way that this has been conducted today. It's not really helped your case.
Why? We weren't allowed to speak. We're here as residents.
There we are.
Well, how do we get to speak at a meeting? Because we will be at the next one.
This is all part of it, you see, isn't it?
Well, we will be at the next one.
Anyway.
Today we're in Milstead School in Liverpool. Glyn's been doing a reading. Can you tell us what you found, please, Glyn?
Yeah, so from this phone mast in the background that I think George is getting, we got 1.5 million microwatts as the peak of radiation, which is still within legal framework, but the legal framework is flawed. And this should not be happening in a school full of kids, any sort of kids, whether they're unwell or well on top of the game. They won't be for very long, but we need to see the end of this. We need to stop this. We need to take these things away from humanity, and especially children.
Okay, people, today we're in Manor High, Crosby, next to the school here, with the tower on. We've got Mark with us today. Mark's going to do some readings for us. Can you tell us what you found today, please, Mark?
Alright, so what I've got here is a broadband antenna and a little EMF meter here, corner, and just doing some measurements. I can turn this around, and wherever you point it, it'll show you where the source of the radiation is coming from. So you can see straight away that on average around here, pointing round, we're getting about 20, 22, whereas if I point it over there, then it goes up to about 12. Now you've got to remember that the lower the numbers on here, the higher the power that's coming out of there. So you can see the red light as well is on there. So you can see that this is not a good place to live, because if you're around here getting these levels of radiation all day, then you're going to be overexposed. So the other factor here is distance, and as you can see we're about 50 metres from the masts, whereas the kids in the school are going to be more like 10 or 20 metres away from them, so they're likely to get a much higher exposure than what we'd be picking up here. Typically, if you double the distance, then you're going to get 4 times as much exposure, so I'd expect the readings in the school to be a lot higher.
This meeting features our current Metro Mayor, Steve Rotherham, who's held this position since 2017, currently up for re-election, and Councillor Paul Stewart, another long-term Labour councillor since 2016. Agenda point we are revisiting today is entitled Wireless Connectivity. Further interesting partnerships mentioned including LCA, Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine Vaccine Research, Pfizer and SciTech Quantum Computing in Daresbury.
12 is the next report is about a successful bid to the Open Networks ecosystem, and I'm going to ask Councillor Paul Stewart, as the portfolio holder for digital and inclusion, to take us through this report, please.
Thank you, Steve. Colleagues, this report seeks approval to accept up to £301,000 from the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. The combined authority are part of a consortium led by the University of Liverpool, which has been awarded a total of just over £9 million through the Open Network Ecosystem Funding Competition. The funding will be used to deliver an innovative trial which will aim to develop low-cost, power-efficient, unobstructed 5G technology, which will address the problems of poor signal and at locations where demand for data is very high across the city region. The project team will work closely with colleagues across our 6 local authorities to identify the locations this groundbreaking technology will be trialled first. The trial is also strongly aligned to our innovation prospectus and our shared ambition to invest 5% of our GVA in R&D. Building on the city region's strength in the digital sector, we are fast becoming UK's most digitally connected region.
Having read the response, I'd like to remind you that the ICNIRP certificate does not cover long-term exposure or biological effects. Both the ICNIRP 1998 and the 2020 guidelines categorically state that there is a risk to certain individuals with metallic implants. Advice on avoiding these problems is beyond the scope of the guidelines. A recent High Court case, Thomas versus Cheltenham Borough Council, ruled that there was a potential risk to people with medical implants below the ICNIRP guidelines, and that this needs to be taken into account by the authority. And at least 2 legal rulings in the UK have set a legal precedent for those suffering with electrosensitivity, also known as microwave sickness. The upper tribunal judge in August 2022, in the case against East Sussex Council, found that a child with electrosensitivity should be considered disabled under the Equality Act 2010 and ruled that the council must secure a special education, health and care plan. In April 2024, the judge put Somerset County Council on notice and ruled that it must comply with its obligations concerning an electrosensitive person who was made homeless due to the EMF radiation, or it would be sanctioned. There must be thousands of people with metal implants living within Sefton, and many residents suffering with electrosensitivity known as microwave sickness. Knowing that the ICNIRP certificate guidelines does not certify safety for those suffering with electrosensitivity or protect those with medical implants, will Sefton councillors now take health into consideration when determining mobile phone applications, small cell deployment, 5G and the Internet of Things? Thank you.
Thanks for your question. I'm not an expert in this, so what I'm going to do is ask my officers to reply to you, and they'll send a reply to you. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.